Imagine this. It's the night before a big game. You've trained for weeks, pushed through the grind, and fine tuned your physical performance for this big moment. But as you're laying in bed, your mind is racing. What if I mess up? What if the team depends on me and I can't deliver? What if? Game day success is built as much on mental preparation as it is on that physical readiness. We're talking about your sports game, we're talking about your life performance, your presentation, you name it. And in this episode, we're unlocking the secrets to showing up mentally sharp, focused, and ready to dominate. Now, it's not going to be too much off of the mainstream type of stuff. It's going to be pretty basic tips today, but our tricks and tools are going to take you on a whole new journey. Hey y'all, welcome to the Athlete's Health Deep Dive, the weekly episode where we get a mental performance theme of the week, dive deep into its insights through some tips, tricks to remember them, tools to apply them. And the goal here is to bring more value to our audience, the athletes, coaches, parents, anyone, giving you a glimpse into some themes and topics surrounding mental performance in these longer conversations and what some conversation points in our coaching could entail. And ultimately, aiming to help you out, get you using these tips, tricks, tools, adding them to your tool belt, your bag, and up your mental performance. And at the end, maybe you'll be more intrigued to check out some of our coaching services. But each week we have a theme, and this week's theme is the mental preparation for game day. So without further ado, let's dive deep into mental prep for game day. And tip number one is visualize success. Like I said, some of these might be a little bit more on the kind of basic mental tip side, mental performance tip side, but our tricks, our tools are going to be different than what you're used to. And that's what we do at the Athlete's Health. Easy, simple, applicable tips, tricks, and tools for you to go apply just like that. And can you imagine something? I just want you to think about this. How can you imagine something before it happens? So you can set up yourself to dominate on game day. How can you imagine success? And that's what we're looking at here, because you've probably likely heard of the great athletes say like, oh dude, I saw myself doing this long before I achieved it, right? No, maybe I had a doubt or two, but no, I never doubted it really. I saw this happening. Now this sometimes gets overlooked because it feels abstract, right? Visualizing, and that's what this is. Visualizing is about mentally rehearsing scenarios, about mentally putting ourselves in these situations, these scenarios, situations that are so vivid that your brain treats them as real. It actually reduces the anxiety. It builds our confidence in those situations. And that's exactly what we're looking at here. And specifically with this trick, the highlight reel method. So tools just spend 5-10 minutes a night. This is just a quick thing you're doing at night before bed. This is how I usually fall asleep, believe it or not. Imagining yourself performing well. Imagine that goal. Imagine that situation, that scenario where the eyes are on you, the stage lights, it's all boom, it's bright, it's you're there. Make it as sensory rich as possible and recreate those key moments too, right? Scoring, defending, executing that play, doing that highlight reel, and put these on repeat in these visualizing moments before bed, I say, because it's so easy to do it then, but any other time we need to as well. And I know in swimming, like Michael Phelps, where I heard this, that in studying him, famously rehearsed every stroke down to a T of his races. When things would go wrong, like filling his goggles with water, which I talked about this last time, his mental preparation kicked in. He already lived that scenario. He already practiced that scenario. He knew what to do when that situation came because he was using tip number one of visualizing success. That trick, the highlight reel method. He would go to bed, I'm sure, every night imagining performing well, making it sensory rich, thinking of those key moments, of the strokes, of the turns. And also, they would even practice, so I wasn't even visualizing those moments when you need to handle the adversity. Tip number 2 is develop a game day routine. Because what's the secret to creating game day calmness and focus? Developing a game day routine. Big events are often overwhelming, right? It's a lot. It's a lot. But these routines that we have anchor us. And when we follow the same steps, same outline every time, we train the brain, I'm ready. Because it doesn't have to think about all the overwhelming things that we got going on. It just thinks about that same steps, that same routine every time. And the other thing is, don't just copy someone else's routine, all right? Tailor it to fit the needs for you. And that's why I'm not going to tell you one routine to do. It's going to be different for any sport, any athletics, and specific per person and person. Your team's going to have a different routine than another team do. If you watch on TV, they're all warming up differently. But one thing I can say is this trick is the performance playlist, which I love to talk about. And the tools for this is we can create a pregame ritual that includes a mix of the physical prep and the mental alignment, that mental prep. This is going to be like our stretching that we're doing, the dynamic stretching beforehand, with a few statements that we say that lock ourselves in, maybe a few songs, tunes that we listen to lock ourselves in, that gets the mental side warmed up and ready, just like we're doing to the physical side, because we don't just need to be going through the physical reps and the physical warm-ups. We need to do it mentally as well, because during the game, you always hear it, we need to lock in mentally, and that's what we're doing. And the other thing I just want us to make sure is we can put this routine into very small events, small routines, small practice situations, okay, to make it second nature. So it's not, oh, we're going out there now. We're just thinking about our routine and what we need to do. No, we go out there and we already have it dialed in. We know what it's going to be because we did it so many times at practice, while we're walking around, when we're at home. The list can go on and on. And so many athletes that I know follow a strict routine. Now, I'm not saying you have to do this, but I am saying they eat the same breakfast, same lunch, same dinner. They go to bed at the same time, have a coffee at the same time, ride the same seats on the bus, you name it. They are following that routine. And honestly, I'm not even going to list one athlete over the other because so many that I talk to do this. And it's different for each of them. They all have different routines. They all have similarities that cross them, though, which is ultimately why I just want to let you know that tip number 2 is develop a game day routine with that performance playlist of integrate the physical prep, that dynamic warm up, game day film, whatever, with some of the mental prep statements, music, whatever you need to do to mentally lock in as well as physically lock in. Thank you for tuning in to the Athlete's Health podcast, and I just wanted to share what we're all about. The Athlete's Health is an online mental gym helping athletes build confidence and resilience in both sports and life. Now, we've got something for everyone, whether it's the free newsletters, tips and tricks on them, or engaging social media content where we're broadcasting these episodes and sharing these actionable insights for you to take home and use right away. Athletes, coaches, parents, even teams, we're offering everything from these free resources to personalized coaching and monthly memberships in the gym. Plus, with partners who share our vision, we're creating multiple ways to check in and grow with us wherever you are. Now, if you have questions about the athlete's health or just want to chat about mental performance in life and just want to talk it up, reach out anytime. Now, together, we're building TAH Titans, those resilient, hardworking, and ready to conquer their goals people, athletes. Now, let's get back to this episode. Keep striving towards greatness. Tip number 3, reframe nerves as excitement. I'm sure we've heard, well, get those butterflies lined up. But what if the butterflies in your stomach weren't fear, but fuel? And that's something that we always hear. We always hear, oh, I got all the butterflies in our stomach. Sometimes I hear, line them up in the same direction, get them going. But this is one I don't always often hear. Oh, those butterflies in your stomach, that's not fear, that's fuel. Get it going, get going. Start getting your engine cranking. That means you got to get going. And athletes often confuse the nerves with fear, but the science shows, and I don't just like to say it, but science, but we can look up study after study after study shows that the physical symptoms of excitement and anxiety are nearly identical. So how do you know the difference. The difference lies in the perception. So why not flip this script and have those butterflies not be in fear and I'm nervous and everything else, but have it be fuel and I'm excited. That's why this trick is the fuel the fire. When we feel nervous, and literally physical changes the mental, and that's what we're going to do here. Or maybe it's physical movement, just listen up. We're going to just say out loud, I'm excited. And you yell, I don't want to yell into this mic, but I'm excited. Reframe the experience. When I wake up and I do not feel like waking up, I think like, let's go. And sometimes I don't do it, and sometimes it's not as good as a day. But I've heard this from many other teams and who I've studied, that they change that physiology, that we call it, to change the psychology. They say something like this, and all of a sudden they're more excited. A team I was just working with is playing the music before their games, reframing the nerves, excitement. Another way could be to take just some deep daily belly breaths or in through the core to center that focus. Calm your heart rate, slow that heart rate down so we can really lock it in. And that's kind of exactly what I said. We can do this so many different ways, but teams that I know have done this. They've changed their mental state through the physical side of either moving a little more, controlling the breath, saying something like, I'm exciting, and leveling up their performance. That's ultimately why I want us to make sure we understand tip number 3 is reframe nerves as excitement with the trick fuel the fire and change the nervous to excited. Take some breaths, slow the heart rate, loosen up, whatever we need to do that helps us out. Tip number 4 is focus on controllables. What happens when you stop worrying about outcomes and you start controlling your actions? Because think about that, right? We think about, oh man, how are these refs going to be? How's the other team going to be? Are they going to be on today? Are they going to be off? Oh, they got that really big guy. What are we going to do? Stop worrying about the outcomes and start controlling the actions, those controllables, because the game day is full of unpredicted factors, right? And I just said it, refs, opponents, the weather if we're playing outside. Now, we can stress over all these things that we can't control, or we can instead start to focus on what we can control, like our effort, the mindset, the execution, the preparation beforehand. And this is what our main topic is for the day. That's why this trick is control the controllables. Oh my goodness, we hear this all the time. But like I said, today's a little more basic episode, but I want to make sure we nail the basics before we add on all these other things. So what we can do with some tools that, if they're not in our tool belt already, we can write down 3 things that we know we can control before the game. We can repeat that throughout the warm-up. That ties right back into what we just talked about of mentally getting ready for the game, that mental warm-up before the game. And if we need to, however this looks for us, get some of that mindfulness to really stay present, stay locked in during the competition. Any of those things that are going to come up that are going to try and throw us down, throw us off our gameplay, stay locked in mentally, stay mindful is another word for that people say. And Tom Brady, for instance, is known for his laser focus, his preparation, his execution. He does not really leave any room for external distractions to derail his performance. He locks it every time, and he does it not by worrying about the other team. When he's down 28-3, he just focuses on that controllable actions that he can control. That's why we're using this control the controllables. And seriously, just think about tying this into the last tips, tricks, tools that we talked about. Write down 3 easy, quick, controllable actions that we can focus on and repeat that throughout the warm-up. Lock in our mental prep for the game, just like we do with our physical prep in that usually dynamic warm-up and moving around. Lastly is tip number 5, use productive self-talk. Can the way you talk to yourself determine how well you perform? Your inner voice has power. Now, instead of just using those vague affirmations, useless, just, oh, we're going to do great, and just yada, 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 use specific self-talk uses that work for your situation. Actionable statements guide the focus, guide the performance for our specific situation, because that is different than someone else. We need to focus on something different than what the defender needs to focus on if we're the forward, whatever the case is, okay? And whatever these statements are that we choose, this productive self-talk, that kind of good guy on your shoulder versus the bad guy. Keep the mind on track. Keep us handling the pressure in those monumental moments. And I'm not saying it always has to be the good guy on our shoulder. Sometimes that bad guy on our shoulder really can motivate us. But that's why this is the productive self-talk. And this trick is the productive prep talk. So this does not always have to be, oh, it's just all cheerful and butterflies. It can be that kind of get your butt going type of vibe. For the tools, I want us to think about 3 performance-oriented statements, just kind of like we talked about, but these are more things that we want to focus on, those action-oriented, like stay low on defense, breathe and focus during the rest, play my game, not the other's games. Use these statements during the breaks, during the pauses, during the game to stay locked in. And in any gymnastics, basically, you have different, because I love doing flips and stuff, it's crazy strength. You are out there, only you, eyeballs on you, right? It's mental game is needed for this. And within the gymnastics, they're thinking of a couple different things. Obviously they're out there and just playing, but some of the things that they need to think about is the tight core, because that is so much core, so much strength. They can extend fully on some of the takeoffs, the dismounts. Just need to stay grounded, need to stay focused during the routines, because ultimately on team sport, which that is definitely still a team sport, right? But you can pass the ball and you can take that quick break till it comes back, till you need to lock in, till you need to get the defense, and you still need to focus, right? But in that gymnastics or golf, anything you can think about like that, where you can't really pass it along to someone else. It's all on you. And that's why I just had those kind of quick examples that most people can relate to of tight core. Extend fully. As you watch gymnastics, those might be some things that they're thinking about. Flip those feet all the way over when we're working with the younger kids. But that's ultimately why tip number 5 is use productive self-talk. And last example here, it could be get your butt going. It can be something like that. That is productive in your efforts of those outcomes of the process that we're working for, instead of just, oh, you're doing great. That's why it's not positive. It's productive. And it's a productive pep talk, because sometimes that pep talk needs to be a chew out. If we're watching any football, sometimes we know that the locker room, the coach is chewing them out, and that is the pep talk. So create those 3 performance-oriented statements, whatever it is, stay low, crush the defender, it can go on and on. But all in all, I want to make sure we recap these tips, tricks, and tools, because while somewhat on the more basic level of mental performance, we are looking at it in a different way and tying it into a different way to prepare for that game day, and that big game day while we're at it. Number 1, visualize success, that highlight reel method. See your success before it happens to reduce the anxiety, to build that confidence. Number 2, develop a game day routine, the performance playlist. Create a consistent pre-game routine to really anchor the focus. Number 3, reframe nerves as excitement. Fuel that fire. Turn the nervous energy, the butterflies of what you can't control, and master what you can control. Turn the nervous energy into a performance booster. Turn those butterflies into fuel. Number 4, focus on controllables. Let go of what you can't control, right? Master what you can control. And lastly, use productive self-talk. And we got that productive pep talk. Doesn't always have to be good. Doesn't have to always be positive, but replace those kind of just vague affirmation statements, whatever, with the very actionable, the focused statements to enhance that performance. It can be that chew out, right? It doesn't always have to be good. And we got another name for that, and we'll cover it on a different episode. But ultimately, game day is the ultimate test of preparation. Now, these mental strategies will help us ensure that we can be focused, confident, ready to compete at our best, whatever that is. So thank you for joining this deep dive of the athlete's health and diving deep into mental performance. I'll catch you next week.